Wow. So this is really exciting. I love you guys. I'm so stoked to have you on the show.
Yeah, we're
Jordan,
super excited to be here. We've
I
been
told Kat and Brian how much I love you.
Aw, I appreciate it a lot. And I'm like, really, it really is an honor to meet you guys. I mean, Frank, we've known each other for a little while now, and I appreciate the introduction. But like, all three of you are remarkably just like prominent, kind of like successful people in your field. And you've done so much in the world, and now you've come together to like do a YouTube channel. It's very unorthodox, but it's also so cool. And I decided to do like bad props for it.
Oh, nice. I thought you were going to say the three of you are remarkably strange. And I would have been like, yeah, you get us. No, yeah, we're all individually our own entities. So coming together for Modern Nirvana has been so fun.
Hmm.
And
Can you
enlightening.
can you describe a little bit about like where Modern Nirvana came from?
Kat always wants me to do this one. Maybe we can all like tag team it a little bit, but it started honestly with Kat having a short series that she created with Deepak Chopra, like the Dr. Deepak Chopra, and they asked me to be in one of the episodes. And so for the interview that I did, it was like a conversation between Deepak and I when we were in Arkansas. Kat said, "Hey, by the way, we need some B-roll of you." For people who don't know, it's just like footage, right? And some footage of me speaking to people, teaching meditation.
I said to
And
people, I said, maybe like 6 of your friends, just get 6 people together and meditate. I just need B-roll for this episode where you're talking about the youth and meditation. And
then fast forward to like 3 weeks later, we had 500 people at this conference, and we had like 10 sponsors, and they were doing infrared facials and cryo facials and pulse electronic frequency machines. And then we had Shaman Durek there do a big shamanic ecstatic dance with the whole crowd. And then we like kind of woke up and realized like people, especially young people, because everybody there was in their 20s and early 30s. And we thought, and it was, by the way, I think the day before Halloween. And we thought, wow, like people are choosing to be here the day before Halloween, and they're really hungry for spirituality. So that's when we decided to make it an annual conference and a YouTube channel. And, we're actually working on an Oracle deck, which I know you'll appreciate, Jordan, because you've got an amazing one. And that's how it kind of came to be.
Wow.
Evil laugh.
so cute. I want to see your Oracle deck, Jordan.
Well, sorry, say that again.
I want to see your Oracle deck.
You're looking at it.
Oh, are those from your actual deck?
They are, in fact. Technically, it's a tarot deck, not an oracle deck, because there is like a difference there. But in the same vein of, kind of like astral super spirit cards. Yeah.
I'm super into it.
Yeah. We'll have to get
Jordan. I was gonna say with Jordan, it's like we can't be strange. We're not strange with Jordan. There's nothing that we say.
You're one of us.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Definitely. We're gonna go just like to infinity and beyond on this call. I already know it.
Looking forward to it.
So so regarding Modern Nirvana, like I was actually researching and like looking up even your guys' website and like reading about like what it was that you're really doing and what you're about. And I mean, it's such a diverse array, but if you were like, could you condense, if you were to condense like the sole purpose or meaning or intention of this thing into like a few sentences, what would it be? And maybe like Kat and Brian, so you guys can answer because Frank gave the last answer.
He's always kind of like go-to because he's so eloquent. Like I always prided myself on being very eloquent, but then I'm like on a call with Frankie and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, well, you don't have, 4 Emmys for journalism. Like, let him talk. Like, he knows what he's doing. I haven't written novels and things like that. So for a confident woman, if you are talking to Frank, you're like, that being said, Modern Nirvana is really a wellness company for the youth. We want to be an all-encompassing company that focuses on spirituality and wellness and giving you the tools that you need to be your best self.
So eloquent.
I'm gonna give her one of my Emmys.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the same if I didn't get it myself, Frankie. I'm fine with my Teen Choice Award. I don't need your
Yes.
I have a surfboard. Thank you.
Can we go there for a moment? Because I'm very curious. Like, as kind of, you know, I kind of alluded to it in the beginning, is like, you guys are a little bit like celebrities. Kat, especially, I think, because you've been on Netflix, you've got on TV shows and all this stuff, and it's like, what is that like? And does it? I mean, how does that relate? It's almost like you have a foot in two worlds, right? Like you're a light worker in secret, almost in this, you know, this like crazy Hollywood world.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely feel that we've been in two worlds. Although, Brian, I feel like from when you did reality, although you just did another reality show, so but, yeah. But it does seem like, you know, you're more in the kind of wellness world and breath work and more meditation day to day. And Frankie and I are still very much in the industry. You know, he just was doing Dancing with the Stars, and it's like, I did Good Morning America today, and then well, I'm on the phone with this guy Robert, and Robert's like, hey, tell Frankie I said hi. I'm like, okay, Robert. And then it's, you know what I mean? It's like, Robert says hi, by the way.
Hello,
so
Robert.
Hey, Robert.
So it is one of those things where we're just very much kind of straddling two worlds. But at first I thought you can only be one thing or the other thing. And the reality is that the fact that we did come from these worlds really makes Modern Nirvana even more powerful, right? Because you have this audience from all the shows that we've done, right, individually, and we're bringing those audiences into really it's kind of, I don't even want to use the word self-help, but we've really grown so much even through the creation of Modern Nirvana. You know, people are getting to know me through our Modern Nirvana YouTube in a way that they would have never been able to get to know me otherwise. And really, you know, our friendship and our dynamic. So yeah, it's at first I thought I had to separate the two. And now I'm all about utilizing everything. Like I've done press tours and we've been in the middle of a Modern Nirvana shoot. So it's like I'm just finding a way, instead of worried about like what's a priority, I'm more concerned about the synergy and the like divine kismet and the organic universal harmony with everything working together versus fighting something that is presented to me in that moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think I do. And there was something I recently watched one of the videos that, you know, Jerry from Rhythmia is doing these live streams. And I don't know if you guys have been to Rhythmia. I know Frank and I met at Rhythmia for the first time last year, right around this time, actually. And Jerry recently was talking about just like how, you know, all these industries that are really big, you know, politics and Hollywood and business and stuff, like they need more light workers in them because, you know, there are some toxic aspects of these industries, and you guys seem to be like embodying that. Like you're in the industry, but you're also you're in the world, but you're not of it. You know, it's like that kind of classic biblical phrase. And I mean, Brian.
Oh, sorry. Like, say what's so funny about that is that it used to be like a secret where other journalists and reporters and producers and stuff would text me and be like, "Hey, Frankie, I'm going through this thing. What crystal do you recommend?" Or like, you know, but it was always like down low. Like they would never like say it publicly. And now it's a lot more open and cool that to talk about spirituality and self-help. So it's really a perfect time to start Modern Nirvana.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like Modern Nirvana, and I mean, for example, Kat, I was looking at your Twitter earlier, just kind of like seeing what kind of stuff like you put out, and most of it is, you know, very like retweets of Hollywood kind of general or like, you know, press
There's
stuff.
A lot of press.
But I did see, there was at least one post. Granted, I only looked through about like a week worth of stuff, but I did see one post like a week ago that was like, I'm going to be posting stuff as a part of Modern Nirvana just in case, and like you tagged it. So like, is there a little bit of a crossover there? Like, are you sort of, you know, sending that like, you know, organic interested traffic, I guess, as it would be?
I don't even think I'm organic with it. I'm just like, guys, we're doing this, go over there. You know what I mean? And even on my like YouTube, if you go on my YouTube page, what was my official YouTube page, I'm literally like, guys, I'm not here anymore. I'm over at Modern Nirvana. Don't expect to see anything originally. Like I I don't know how to be necessarily organic and graceful when it comes to like moving my audience, because I have such a different kind of relationship with them. It's very much like, okay, this is what we're doing and we're going there now. So that's just my, I don't know how graceful I am about it, but they definitely know where my energy is. And, you know, this is such a huge part of our year. And, you know, it started last year and was supposed to be our second conference. We're excited for our, I guess it would be our third annual conference.
It would have been our
Yes,
second
our
one this
second
year.
conference, but our, I don't know, it's our second conference. So that's what I'm excited to get people going to, and you know, that's really where it gets really exciting.
Oh, you mean next year? Yeah, that'll be the third technically, right? It's kind of weird.
Second.
Well, we canceled the second, which would have been this year. So does that make next year the third or the second, Jordan?
Probably.
Jordan.
I would
help us out here.
If it got second, I would have just said, instead of it's canceled, it was just postponed, and then it becomes the second one, so that it's not
That's
like
right.
where was the second?
Oh,
it was
okay.
the second one is this like elusive
that.
mystery.
We're pretty, Frankie. We're pretty.
I wanted to kind of also ask Bryant, you know, we haven't heard from you very much too, but like looking at your you know, your background and your history, you have a lot of this, you know, it's like breath work and pranayama and like much like a lot of that very intensely. But then now I'm just like, I didn't really even know your Hollywood side is that you're also on reality shows. I mean, just like similar question, but like, what's that like for you? Especially like a reality show versus more of like what Kat does, or even with Frank, because yeah, it's like reporter, actress, reality guy. It's crazy. What an amazing combination you guys are.
Totally. What a beautiful question, and super grateful to be here. And it's not just any reality show, mind you. The first one I was on was America's Next Top Model. So you go for, you know, putting your whole heart into a competition to be the best looking, to then your priority being ascension and like unifying humanity. So it's like two very polar extremes, right? And what I've noticed is, you know, kind of going off into like a sadhu state where I gave all my belongings and, you know, traveled the world. And then I found, you know, Frank and Kat, and I decided to ground down and build this, you know, heaven on earth, or a kingdom that I really wanted to live in. I realized that it doesn't really matter what you're doing, but it's the person that's doing those things. It's where you're vibrating from, just every single interaction throughout the day. It's the small miracles that lead up to the big moments like this when we get to share our story, you know? So Modern Nirvana was just a supernatural next step to, you know, create from your highest excitement, create without limitations, you know, be able to express love with your coworkers and build a company that's going to enhance the world.
Yeah. Wow. Sweet.
Yeah.
You know, sorry. What was that?
No, go ahead, please.
Oh, so I like when you're describing and you were on like America's Next Top Model, my question was like kind of where I went to was, you know, they always say that like true beauty is found within, and that whole kind of, you know, Beauty and the Beast kind of style energy. And I'm curious, like for America's Next Top Model, does that hold any weight? Like if you're a genuine, like good-hearted person and that radiating good vibe comes from you, does that increase your standing, or is it like pure physical, like you're hot and that's it, you know?
Totally. Well, I mean, we all know energy, and you're radiating eventually from the inside. You know, you can see the sparkle in your eye when you have that like connection to source, and you've done enough purification methods for that to be your truth. But when I was on the show, I'm not saying I was the guy that I am today. I'm saying that I'm a testament to the human evolution, right? The testament to be able to be myself eventually. So I got so far into the world when I was on the show, I was completely in my ego. I was there to win. I was there thinking that looks was the ultimate reality for my success. And then going through it and very much failing forward, I learned that, you know, there's nothing necessarily to achieve, but there's so much to enjoy. There's so much love to express. So like, it was just like a punch in the face from the universe. And like, I couldn't like help myself but to look inwards. And then that led me to this moment, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really special. And then, so how did you guys all like meet? I mean, you kind of described it a little bit, Bryant, here, but like, what, you know, what happened that led you both from just like the initial meeting, the revelation that you're all kind of on the same spiritual path, and getting together to actually form this like trinity of conscious creatorship.
So-
Yeah, go ahead, Frankie, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna make a joke. I was gonna say, well, me and Kat met in ancient Egypt and on the Nile, and she was stabbed in the back, and I witnessed it.
You
And
don't
we
talk about that because that's a trigger. Remember, Frankie?
True. We had a few more lifetimes, and then we met again in this lifetime on a red carpet when we were like.
Yeah, we're a few hundred years, maybe longer. I think maybe Mesopotamia. Were you there?
I was.
Okay, so we met at the cradle of civilization. We've been friends since.
Yada yada yada. Now we're here.
Yada yada yada. A couple things happened. We don't need to talk about it.
And then we met Brian. I met Bryant. You know,
And I met Brian at the Sunset Tower with Frankie.
Yeah. I think it was like I had just covered a wildfire. They had not met yet. I had just covered a wildfire for like a week. I was exhausted. Kat was like, she connived with Bryant low key on text message and was like, let's take Frankie out to dinner. You know, he's had a hard week. And then that's when they met in person for the first time. And then Bryant and I kind of created the conference together for Kat's show. And then that's how we all really came together, like fully. And it was so effortless, and it's still effortless. It's like out of everything we've ever done, it's the most effortless thing we've ever done.
It's the easiest thing we've ever done, hands down. Everything I had done up until like October was just like everything was a struggle, and putting it together and calling people and following up, and it's just everything has just kind of really fallen on our laps. But I do think that it's, you know, intention is really, really important, and genuinely our intention is to bring wellness and awareness and, you know, good vibes and health and whatever we can, and whatever knowledge we've acquired or anything that our discoveries, we want to take our audience on those discoveries with us and on those adventures with us. It's just genuinely like from a solid place. And I think that's a huge part of it. Because when your intentions aren't pure and they're not coming from the right place, you meet some blocks and you're like, I don't know why this isn't working for me. It's like, well, what are you doing it for? You know, so.
And like even a testament to that, like I know there have been people in the past who've wanted to work with us, like huge major influencers, YouTubers, and you know, Kat or Bryant would be like, well, you know, like we talk in our meetings and we're like, well, maybe it's not really aligned with what we're doing right now. And, you know, you know, Kat can do Vogue if she wants. She doesn't need to do another like pretty girl skincare routine for our YouTube channel, even if we know it'll make, you know, get millions of views. It's more about the intention, and it's more about like, what are we delivering to the world? So, you know, it's so awesome for me to see like how much Kat and Brian always bring that to our attention in the meetings. Like, well, is it really helping humanity? Is it really taking people forward? Is it, you know, and if it's not, then we don't do it. It doesn't matter if it's going to get a lot of views. It doesn't matter if it'll get millions of subscribers, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, that's amazing. That's, I think that really is a testament to like embodying your truth and your values, because not a lot of people think like that. A lot of people are in that mindset of like, will it make money? Let's do it then, you know, like, and that's the bottom line, without that consideration of can we, you know, can we put those together, but can we lead with the intention first and then find the way to support it as we go, but following that lead. I commend you guys. That's really special. That's really sacred.
We actually just learned about that yesterday. Conscious capitalism. So it's like, it's okay to make the money. It's okay. You know, there's so much good in the world you can do with money. So it's good to make money, but it's also doing it in a conscious way.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest lessons for me at the end of like through the second half of last year, and then like putting it into practice this year. Actually, like we made a spirit science money movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like a 9. Yeah, it's like a 9-part. Well, it was a 9-part spirit science money series that was merged into like an hour and something long movie. And then that was like a buildup for a course that we did called Spiritual Money Mastery, which is like how to view and see and understand money from a spiritual perspective. And now moving into the next year, in January, February, we're doing Spiritual Business Mastery, which is like, this is like changing your relationship with money. This is how to run a business. Because this is what I've been learning a lot, and like how to, you know, because we have a team of animators, a team of editors, people running a mystery school, teaching courses, classes. Like there's a lot happening with spirit science. Yeah. So any value I can add and offer to you guys, like, yeah, let's get you in there.
I love that.
I
Thank
would
you.
love to. Is that like a course? Is that a movie? Is that a panel? Like, what is the business one? Because I might need to take that.
Yes, I'm gonna say yes. It's going to be a course. It's not live yet, but that one's gonna be a course that will also have a panel. And we're thinking about doing. Sorry for everyone watching and listening. I'm not trying to just like use this as a platform to promote my courses.
No, I'm asking.
Yeah, no, totally. But it's going to be like mainly a course, but we're thinking of launching like an actual like a mastermind group for conscious businesses to work together and provide like, you know, information and insight on how to level up and like kind of building this like community of spiritual business people who are on the same wavelength as us towards the end of that course. So yeah, we'll have links everywhere. I'll send it to you guys after this call. I'll make a note of that.
Thank you.
That'd be awesome.
If my pen
all the
would work.
information we can get is always deeply valued for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. So, but I mean, like, yeah, no, where do we even go from there? Okay, actually, no, I mean, on the subject of spiritual business, because I do have some like talking points that we can reference just in case here.
Right.
I mean, where do you see, as far as Modern Nirvana, where do you see things going? Like you have this, you know, like it seems like the conference was the big, you know, kind of grand opening really of like the potential of what this could be. But moving forward into the future, like where do you see this going? Like, you know, a year, 5, 10 years in the future, do you have like a vision?
Right?
Yeah.
No. I want to give him a chance because he's not the type, like me and Kat will just jump in and take over.
We will keep talking. We will talk your ear off for a good 2 hours. We're also conducting interviews and being interviewed. So
yes. Yeah, well, I appreciate the space. You know, at this stage, we're really putting, you know, 116% into the conference and really over delivering on that, because not only do we understand that there's an infinite amount of information out there, but we want people to actually have an embodied experience of the wisdom. So, you know, as we're creating the YouTube videos, it's been a blast. Like art is a great way to influence and empower. But the conference is like a hands-on, I can look you in the eyes, tell you I love you kind of situation. So I see that expanding globally, you know, especially in the next 3 years. Again, we don't really know what's going on with the times, but we can just prepare. And then as far as, you know, Oracle deck, we have, you know, Frank's one of the most incredible writers that I've ever come across. So I want to, you know, seduce as much content out of him as possible for this company. Well, you know, and, you know, it's really just sky's the limit. We have actually a meeting next week to really hone in on like, okay, what are the 3 things that we want to offer to this world? You know, how can we serve the world, you know, the best? And I know there's gonna be a lot more clarity coming from there, because everything so far that we put our mind to has been, you know, again, like we say, very effortless. We have put the time in. Cool background, Kat.
Whoa.
I'm playing around. I'm listening to you, but
you look like Storm.
I didn't do it.
That's
from X-Men. Like your eyes are glowing.
You look like Storm.
I'm trying. It didn't quite work out. I'm going back to what I had.
That's so funny. Well, and for everyone listening without video on like a podcast place, Kat just changed her background to Modern Nirvana, but it just blew out her whole body, and
it didn't work, you guys. But
it was a great idea. You're seeing your glowing eyes. It definitely has to
Jordan,
be seen.
That's what people who are into spirit science look like after they listen to you.
Did you ever see that meme that went super viral like 4 or 5 years ago? That was like this crazy like psychedelic guy, and he had his like, you know, like Thoth was there, Jesus, all the chakras and everything, and the quote was like, "Look at how hard I'm spirit sciencing, bro." It went so viral. Like I don't think I've seen another meme go so viral as that one in the history of spirit science Facebook. It was crazy.
That's so awesome.
It's so hard, you know, sitting just sitting down and doing a Zoom. Sometimes I get a little distracted.
Would you prefer to stand?
No, because I'm wearing sweatpants and I don't want people to think I'm not as fashionable as I am. And it's
just
not
the
as
top.
cute, so I have to sit down.
Just the top. Yeah. We're all like naked underneath. That's fine.
Yeah. What do you mean, pants?
So funny because we all work from home so much now, like the world, you know, that it's so used to wearing like sweatpants and stuff. Sometimes I'll be in my underwear and then I'll go out to get the mail and I'm like, wait, did I put pants on? Did I like forget? Or like I'll go to run an errand and I'm like, wait, did I forget to wear pants?
That's so funny. Oh man. So, but like, I think we were somewhere in the middle of describing just like the future of modern Nirvana, right? So maybe just like if we bring it back to there for a moment, you're talking about like this upcoming meeting or this meeting you had, Bryant. Like,
yeah, definitely. Just to wrap it up, is in whatever form the conscious content gets created. Meditation books, breathwork books, Kat's meditations. Frank, has already done third eye conferences around the world and produced videos that have gotten, tens of millions of views to show people the power of awakening your third eye, which is, pretty esoteric for, the normal person. So, I think we're refining our desires and deeply listening right now while the world's on a pause of what does, the children need, what does the world need, and what is our role within that. We know for certain that we're going to continue to create the content on the YouTube. We know for certain that we're going to create this conference and that's going to expand to the world. But, what are the other key, pillars that we can, support everybody with? So, we're in a really beautiful position right now.
Mm-hmm. So just lots of possibilities, really.
Yes. Infinite.
Infinite.
What feels the best in the body? Yes.
Mm-hmm. The conference and our YouTube, it doesn't even have to be a YouTube because it might actually grow into something else. But our content for sure is a huge part of what we do because we're kind of like these like spiritual explorers. I like the fact that on this call we're all young and hungry for more information and more knowledge, and we just have this quest, right, to get to know ourselves and God and in the universe, or what is not the universe, what isn't of understanding or comprehension, and tap into that. So I think that's really, really exciting to kind of form a group and start this journey with everyone, because I know that we're not the only ones that are looking for that. And we were talking about this actually, I think this week, where a lot of the spiritual teachers or people that we've even grown up listening to, I mean, even just mentioning like, I love, the late Wayne Dyer and Carolyn Meese, and, a lot of these teachers though are a little bit older, and unfortunately, I know my audience has no idea who they are. I maybe Frank and Bryant's audience, because they've been a little bit more, I don't know. They've done more like Frankie had his YouTube before, which really focused on his spiritual work and all of that stuff. Where Modern Nirvana is really the first thing that I've done in this space. Even though I'm private, but I'm very spiritual. So, but my audience and a lot of our audience, a lot of the young people don't know where to go. They don't know where to look. They are looking for answers in social media and, sometimes the wrong places. And we're getting our answers sometimes from the wrong people, from the wrong leadership, from religions or anti-religions or substance abuse or whatever it is, but people need, they feel like they're missing something, and they're right, but they don't know to look within to find it. So we want to just help hold the mirror up a bit.
Yeah. I mean, has your spiritual awakening also impacted like the kinds of, say, movies or roles or jobs that you take in the industry side of things?
Oh my gosh. I mean, well, this year has been the best year of my life, and it's actually the first year where I actually really sat in meditation, sometimes for just a whole day. I won't leave my meditation room. It's the first time I really connected when before Modern Nirvana became a company. I was sitting in like this like day long, I don't even know how long I was in this meditation. It had to be no less than 5 or 6 hours. And then I got the download that Modern Nirvana was a company. It wasn't just a conference. And I called Frankie immediately. And there are these kind of like, I don't even call them like subtle moments, but that kind of the awareness kind of drops in, and you realize why things are happening and what they mean. So that happens a lot. My manifestations have gotten better and quicker. My practice, I'm pretty diligent about my practice. Just, my devotion to um, being a spiritual person has definitely changed everything. And in fact, I don't think that, I mean, obviously I work very hard and that matters. Like you can't just meditate and then never get off your ass and make phone calls or do anything. Like you can't just will it to you. But that being said, I think that the things in my life and the reason why I'm successful is because I deal with as above, so below versus a lot of people deal with as below, so whatever.
That's funny.
Whatever's happening here is real and it's all happening. Like, we're all very devoted to like Vasistas yoga. We all read it every day, where we're actually able to see the subtleties of the reality, non-reality, and that kind of the subtleties of this realm. So I think that I just operate a much different this year than I ever have, and it's working for me. So I'm gonna stay in my little spaceship.
Yeah, I imagine too that like it might even be like you can kind of almost be like little secret magic pixies spreading pixie dust around, like if you're in Hollywood, a bunch of like screenwriters or people who come up with ideas for reality shows. Yeah, you just you run up to them and you start doing that. No, but like like planting the seed of idea of like, what if there was this movie about like time traveling using sacred geometry, and then you just send a video of a spirit science episode and you're like, just think about it, pass that to a script writer and just like plant seeds, then Hollywood starts waking up.
Yeah, I think you just have to decide who you want to be and why you want to be that person, and then go from there, and then it'll start coming to you in the way that it comes to you, because you're also working with different people's timing and their karma or their their patterns and their lessons that they need to learn in this life and their relationships. You can't just override that. But I do think that, a lot of things will come to you if you make the decision, and I want to do something around sacred geometry. I'm going to do something around sacred geometry. I've done a very massive project around sacred geometry. As Frankie taught me the words, this is affirmed for me. And so it is. And it's literally that.
That's chill. That's powerful. Brian. Yeah. Oh, I thought you were about to start into something. Yeah. Sorry.
Those like Kundalini energies go up your spine. Like, yes, that's my team.
This is Brian Kundalini energy. This is what it looks like.
I'm just.
Hell yeah, everyone!
Enjoying this. This is amazing.
Whoever
we have so much fun. We have so much fun.
Yeah, for everyone listening, everyone's dancing basically.
I know. I wish they would watch it. It's funny because like when I do shoots with Kat and Bryant, and we're like editing the videos, there's so much giggling, and we can't even like do the shoot because we're just giggling and like laughing and whispering in each other's ears.
Or when we pulled over on the side of the road to meditate, and Kat and I were meditating.
We had a road trip because Frankie recently moved to Texas from California, and change, especially this year, is very. It could be difficult. It's just a big deal. We wanted to be with him to support him energetically, so we all went to Texas.
Imagine a Prius with 3 people and 2 cats driving cross country. 3 cats.
1 driving.
3 cats.
And then when we pulled over to the side of the road, Brian, go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah. This is my perspective. So we pulled over from the side of the road and we laid out this blanket, and Kat was putting us through like these toning affirmations. And we're listening. Kat, we're like deep in meditation, looking over like the desert. It was beautiful, and then all of a sudden you hear this like chaos behind you. I'm telling you, I was like, and this is like the moment where like, oh, I'm being tested right now. Like I need to stay in this like deep state. And there's just so much going on. The cats are like, running around. Frank's like screaming a little bit, but he's keeping us cool. And the meditation ends.
Stomping, lots of stomping, smacking things, just hear things smacking.
The sage had caught on fire of the blanket and burnt, like, not my speaker, it burnt like my shirt. And Frank had saved us while we were meditating.
It like burned through my
Cat
back.
ran under the car.
Yeah.
But that was a great meditation.
So good.
We got in the car and
through the fire.
It was so peaceful, and I was like chaotic behind you, but trying to be quiet.
red ants came and like.
Oh yeah, there was red ants.
Okay, that would be the most amazing. Okay, that one sounds amazing, and two, I already am seeing it like animated as like a little cartoon. Would be so funny to take that story.
Well, you guys, by the way, I don't know if Kat and Brian know, but you have made me a spirit science little character before, which was so awesome. That was like a highlight of my life.
That is true. Yeah, we did that for the LGBT workshop event that we did.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
It's on YouTube, I guess, is all I can say, really.
I'll find it.
Yeah. Frank and I gave a workshop at Rhythmia. Again, it was like a year and a week ago from around this date. And it was very interesting. It was for this special like LGBT gathering at Rhythmia. And we gave like a big workshop on both, like, it was like the Hermetic principles and just like understanding LGBT and like the whole, all of the letters after that. And it went really well. We had an amazing week at Rhythmia, but we did share some of the videos, and it was so controversial, like on YouTube. Like, Frank, you'll remember, right? Like, people were freaking out, saying like we were, just Satan spawn or something, because we were even talking about this.
I know, it was so funny too, and like surprised me because of your audience. I thought was like a pretty, woke audience, and it is. But there's always like the few that just kind of like rile things up, right? But that was a really interesting thing, like emotionally, to even like, see those comments and like, and I know you and I were talking on the phone. It was pretty intense.
What did you say, Frank? You were listening to Shaman Durek's consciousness episode. What did he say about fear or placing judgment, or what was that?
Oh, right. He was saying that when you like project onto a person, like this is what they are. Let's say your mom, is a lazy person. I'm making this up, somebody. And then it's like, we keep saying like, oh, my mom is so lazy. She did this. She won't do that or whatever. Then we're just making that person or your partner or whoever in a relationship, you're making them more lazy by projecting that onto them. So instead, what did he say to do? Like to just see them in a different light and allow them to have that space to become that.
Yeah, and that a lot of people are operating not necessarily from a place of hate. Because I still genuinely do believe that people do what they feel is in their best interest in that moment to do. I don't believe that people are malicious. But I
was saying it was fear, right? Like their fear of something that they don't understand made them attack it.
Right. Because if you understood something, then you wouldn't be threatened by it. You wouldn't have fear about it. But because you don't understand it, a lot of people go into the ego space of the I need to protect myself. I don't understand this, I'm thankful that I actually grew up Jewish and Black. So I'm like, you know what? I'm different enough. I'm totally fine with this. And then I played a witch for 8 years. I'm like, I'm good. You know what? This is the least weird thing I've ever done. So
yeah.
I guess
and
you
then
got
Jordan,
yeah.
I'm actually going back to Rhythmia. For people who don't know, I'm sure they've seen your videos on it. I've done videos on YouTube about it as well. But I'm going again in March with my dad, and I'm taking Bryant and his dad as well. So Bryant and I are taking our dads, and it's going to be an incredible experience. And I know that, at least for my dad, he's never done anything like that. Bryant, I don't think yours has either. And so we're literally like, let's take our dads to the jungle and get them high on ayahuasca, And surprisingly, they're like, yes, let's do it.
It's awesome.
That's amazing.
Have fun.
I mean, Kat and Bryant, I guess maybe the question was already answered for Bryant, but have either of you guys been to Rhythmia or done ayahuasca?
I've never done it. It seems real intense.
Yeah.
I'll burn some sage.
I can't get Kat to do
Here's the
ayahuasca.
thing.
I've given up.
I go so deep in my meditations that I feel like if I went on ayahuasca or anything like that, I would just like leave my body. Like I'll be like, I'll holla, you know, like I don't know. So I don't know. I've never done it, but I will say that anyone who's interested in self-exploration and wants to, you know, do that, I think any sort of self-exploration versus running away from yourself, anything you can do to go closer to yourself and
Mm.
use it, what nature has provided you, a healing tool, a medicine to help you, I think is awesome. I think for me everything comes in a very divine time, but I'm sure that if I do it, Frankie and Bryant will be right by my side holding my hand through it. But
Yeah.
I think it's cool that they're all about, like, they're the real explorers, you know. I'm kind of like,
Totally.
Brian and I have actually done some psychedelics together, but not ayahuasca, I don't think.
Yeah. It's funny because it's such a personal choice for the individual. Like I know I personally couldn't tell any viewers right now to go out and do that substance. You know, you have to find that from within and you almost get invited to it. So either you hear the call, you don't. You know, I know through my interactions in altered states, you know, I've reached very profound insights and, you know, eventually that they got integrated and I was able to use them. But, you know, it's completely like the hero's journey. And, you know, you learn the same lessons eventually. You know, I always say that you can like make every less productive decision before you eventually make the right one.
Yeah, well said. I mean, like I think, yeah, like it's that fine line of you know, both addressing the fears, not being pushy, but also recognizing, I mean, for each of us, you know, if it's right or if it's not, or when it happens, right? And sometimes it does take some time. Some people are more, you know, just like, I don't care, jump into it. And for others, it takes like a long time to like, is this something that I really want to do? And I did want to say too, like also, Kat, don't be afraid of leaving your body. It'll be amazing. You'll be like up
no,
in the
I'm not.
fifth dimension with with Jesus.
I'm
And
just worried about getting back in it.
oh, no, you always come back. You always
No,
come back.
I'm a traveler. It's a whole other podcast, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's not the issue. But I think, you know, we'll see. We'll see. I'm very happy with kind of the pace that I'm at. I feel like I'm very cool with it, and anything that I do, it's like a lot of consulting with Frankie, and you know, and it's a lot of research. And we did a whole episode of Consciousness Collective with I'm blanking on the names, but do you remember, Frankie, where it was like a psychiatrist?
Oh, yes. Oh my God. So that's actually full circle, and Jordan will understand this. It was with two psychologists that are incredible. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name as well, on their names. But Gita and
Gita, yes.
and I think David. I think, but Gita is this incredible psychologist. I think I want to say maybe psychiatrist. And you know, she was telling us a lot about different, you know, uses of like psilocybin and ketamine and so on to reach higher states. But Jordan, the reason why I was saying you'll appreciate this is when you and I were at Rhythmia together, I was not allowed to take the plant medicine. So I had a very different experience there than you did on that specific trip. And it was because I had worked with ketamine under the care of a psychologist prior to it. And it was like that same week, basically, like the week before. And I never said in the video, on my YouTube video, why I was not allowed to work with the medicine. I guess I just said it now, but it was a ketamine journey that I did under a doctor's care. But that was the reason why that they actually didn't let me take the plant medicine, because they were afraid that it would interact in a bad way.
There you have it.
There you have it.
But that's my big contribution to the conversation.
It was through Kat's interview with Gita that I learned about ketamine.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Okay, full circle. Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, it is great, but also at the same time, Kat, you made it so that Frank had to sit out of out of our experiences at Rhythmia. No,
I didn't tell him to take no ketamine, okay? Frankie does what Frankie wants. I don't tell my friends what to do. They don't tell me what to do.
No,
Love,
it's all good.
respect, and reverence. Frankie is a king. Frankie don't need me to tell him nothing.
Definitely not. No, he's golden.
Only, yeah, I don't know. I'm so lucky to have Kat and Bryant.
You guys seem like such an amazing, close-knit little family, I have to say. Just like the way that you relate and interact with each other and connect with each other is beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Kat says we all have such reverence for each other. I say we have such devotion. I mean, it's like
a lot of devotion.
Jordan, it's so like we're so devoted to each other. You have no idea. I mean, Kat was in Italy shooting for a magazine and had sort of like a tough time and called us, and we like dropped everything and got on a Zoom call and did some breath work with her. Bryant led it. It's just like we're all there for each other. And now, because we all travel so much for work, Bryant was, like Kat was saying, just shooting a reality show in another country, and I'm always traveling for work. Kat's always traveling into other countries for shoots, and like we've gotten to the point where we don't even want to ever travel again if it's not together. We just like, if it's like, hey, if Kat has to go to a shoot, we're all going. If I have a shoot, we're all going. If Brian has something, we all want to go.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. I mean, definitely once it feels it's a bit safer to travel. Yeah, that's definitely something that we're looking forward to doing for sure, and sharing our adventures, because it's always an adventure for sure.
Yeah, well, and that'll make some amazing content for your YouTube channel too. Just like filming your adventures and then putting them up there. And actually, I saw, it's funny that that Frankie brought up the whole like Italy breathwork thing. I saw that video on your YouTube channel where Kat, you were just like, I was in Italy, things went insane, and then it cuts to like the video of Bryant being like, just breathe, everything's good, do the nostrils, and
dead giveaway of how stressed I was. There was just like multiple press-ons on my nails that just were not there. Like, it was just like 2 press-ons left. Like, you knew I was going through. And it's, what's funny is that if you're in my industry, you have to be careful. You can't just tell people, oh, my job is so hard. It's like, you're doing fashion. Like, shut the fuck up. You're fine. You know what I mean? So it's like having to process that is not something I ever do publicly or for a YouTube or anything like that. But, it's everyone, no matter what job you do and no matter how you do it, everyone has their moments, and that's what they are. They're moments. It's not you. You're not your problem. You're dealing with something. But that's what I had to that's what Bryant, through his breathwork, helped me figure out, that I am not this situation. I'm still me. I'm still solid as a rock. Let me breathe through this throughout the day, because no day is actually perfect. Like in the cut, it looked perfect after I breathe through it, but there were still moments that I had to kind of walk away and breathe, and that's really the tool, is to use it throughout your day, not just, oh, I did it in the morning and I'm fine, because you're not going to be fine. You have to understand your breath.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and Bryant, you might be a good person to talk to about this. Like, and you have, I mean, there's probably videos on the Modern Nirvana YouTube as well, where there's like tutorials or guided little meditations, right?
Yeah, we did a shamanic passages and breath work with Shaman Durek. We did a 5 minutes to sleep with Adam Wahid. We're kind of mixing and collaborating with people and like putting breath work in there to make it relevant and fun. And then, we've been leading workshops and speaking. So, breath work can be plugged into like any scenario. So it's been fun to be able to contribute in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say is maybe like, I mean, is breath work, would you say one of the most powerful tools, spiritual tools that you have at your disposal, or that we have at our disposal, compared to, I mean, like even at your conference, you've got, in terms of tools, everything from, ancient meditation techniques to modern light baths, right? Like, what are like the most potent tools that you guys like the most, or feel like does the most for you?
Yeah, I'll touch on it first. I'm partial because I've dove in headfirst consistently with breath work. But with any other modality, once you understand like the foundational principles of your existence, right? We all breathe to live. So when you understand breath, you begin to understand life. It can amplify, enhance, absolutely any healing modality. So I always recommend like have some sort of relationship with your breath because you utilize it, 20,000 times a day.
Yeah, I fully resonate with that. Fully agree, actually. And how about you guys, Kat and Frank? Do you agree, or do you feel like there's something else that's more appealing to you in terms of like spiritual tools?
One, definitely everything Bryant said. I learned so much just from hearing him talk. So like I'm definitely like allowing that to resonate.
Yeah.
Sure. Two, what's a light bath?
Didn't you say something about a light bath? I don't know, Frank. You mentioned it earlier.
Infrared light. We had infrared.
Oh, infrared. I know what infrared is. Okay, go ahead, Frankie. You can answer. I was just obsessing over that.
Well, I agree with Bryant as well, and like what Kat said, we learn so much every time we hear Bryant speak. He speaks in such an abstract, beautiful way. But the breath, I'm learning more and more. I've done breath work since before I've known Bryant, but I've really furthered my practice through him, and he introduced Kat and Brian and Kat and I into sky breathing, which is from the Art of Living Foundation, and that's been really powerful for us. So I know, like, even when I'm about to go on camera or even during this podcast, I'm always aware of my breath, and when it's not my turn to speak, I'm breathing in for 4, I'm holding it for 4, I'm releasing it for 4. Your breath is really your anchor to the present moment, and it's like the most powerful thing that no one can take away from you. And so that I love. Kat alluded to earlier a book called Vasista's Yoga that I just wanted to repeat in case it went over anybody's head. That has been probably the most powerful book I've ever read. I'll speak for myself. I know Kat and Brian love it as well. And so that's Vasista's Yoga. I actually learned about it through Wayne Dyer, who told me about it. I got to meet him like 3 months before he died. And he said to me that he was, to a group of us, that he was like, after reading this book, I think I'm done. I don't think I need to be here anymore. I'm done. And he died like 3 months later. It's an incredible book. And
you're not encouraging people to read it. That's
no,
not
right?
hell, Frankie.
Yeah, once you read it, you jump ship. No, we're still here. We read
on your pitch.
Yeah, he read it and now he's gone. And then but I would say also like Kundalini yoga has been pretty amazing, and meditation in my life. So those 3 things are probably the biggest. And then like you get little glimpses of going even further, I would say, with like psilocybin or other plant medicines like ayahuasca. And then Kat, I don't know if I left anything out.
For you, I think that's pretty accurate. That's kind of that's all encompassing. And then for me, I think I'm really into sound vibration. That has been an incredible tool for me. So, Bryant is really a breathwork master, and Frankie is totally tapped into words, which he's obviously used in a really profound way in spiritual and also his career. For me, sound frequencies, for sure. Sacred sounds, tuning forks, things like that, are really my favorite tools to drop in. I call it dropping in. So that's I love guided meditations, and I've definitely done those for sure. But I would say, yeah, for me, it's been sound for sure.
That's really cool. I appreciate all of you sharing too. Like, I mean, it's all like, yes, I agree with each of them. And there's also this, and it almost seems like there's got to be some kind of like holy trinity in there between you guys of like, you've got like light, sound, air in, like the swirling kind of like just like these sacred primordial forces that of utilizing those.
For sure. And Bryant, your air. What would I be then?
Water or fire.
Fire, water, all of it.
Fire, water.
Sound. Well, I would say water first, but this is a tarot thing of like on the Ace of Cups specifically in Patch Tarot, the princess, she's actually holding a singing bowl. Like her cup is a singing bowl that she's playing. So it's got the cup and it's water, but it's emanating vibrations of sound. And there's this whole, I taught like an hour and a half class once, so we won't go into the details here, but this big relationship between sound and water and resonance and feeling, and how when you speak and when you vocalize intentions and frequencies into reality, you know, shift and shape the reality field around you.
I love that.
Yeah.
So
So yeah. So then I guess I would be fire if we made a 4 elements in this particular arrangement, this geometry.
absolutely.
Sweet. Oh man. So you guys have some more time, right? Or do we just have an hour here for this call today?
I've got a little bit more. I have like 30 more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good to keep going, because there's something I want to ask you guys about. Maybe going into like a little bit of the dark side of the world, if you're willing to talk about it, is, you know, there's a lot of, I don't know if you've seen, we've been making this series called The Conspiracy Theory of Everything, and like just talking about all the different conspiracies. And yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. We're taking all the conspiracies and weaving them together. So it's everything from like aliens and the holographic reality, and
so into it.
integration with technology, the secret government, you know, all of these things. And I wanted to ask you guys specifically. Yeah, like, okay, stop the podcast. I have to go watch this right now. But like I just like yesterday, we posted one called The Great Reset, and it was all about coronavirus and the pandemic and what is really, you know, the reshaping of society is like the theme. And I wanted to ask you guys your perspective from, you know, especially from your vantage point, being in the industries that you're in, the people that you're talking to, like this whole pandemic thing. Like, what is your take on it? How do you feel about it? Do you see, and what do you see coming as a result of this big change that's happened?
Should I take it?
Yeah.
First of all, regardless of how we feel about it, this has been a very difficult year for a lot of people that have had serious health consequences, financial consequences. People have lost their homes, their loved ones because of this. This has been a very difficult year for a lot of people, and that we're supremely blessed that we're even in a position to reflect on it, because a lot of people aren't even in the position to be able to even see the forest for the trees because they've been suffering so much. So anyone listening, if there is anything that you can do, especially around the holidays, to help people find their footing again who might have lost it this year, that's incredibly important to do. In regards to reset, I feel like we've all individually had our own personal journeys this year, right? Things that we thought were going to happen didn't happen. Huge transitions, huge changes. I've personally had a really great year because I was stripped away from everything that I thought made me as this kind of Hollywood figure, celeb, whatever, and it was all kind of ripped away, and I actually had to deal with things, and I actually chose to deal with them publicly. So for me, it was a really healing journey, and it was a year that I actually had nowhere to go but to sit down with myself and actually commit to the kind of meditation that I'd been talking about or studying for many years. So I had more time with God this year in a way that I would not have maybe made the time or found the time to be devoted as I am now into my kind of spirituality and my practice and my focus on being a person of giving. I also feel that, you know, the earth has had a really difficult 5 to 10 years. There's been a lot of pollution. There's been a lot of aggressive action in regards to people over resourcing resources, deforestation, climate change. It's been a very, 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 very difficult time for the earth. So much pollution. And there is a part of me that feels that not just people, a humanity needed a reset, but the earth needed a minute to heal. And, you know, to not take anything away from the tragedy and the heartbreak that a lot of people felt this year, there's also so much healing that we've all had that happened this year because we were forced to stay put healing that the earth needed. The earth decided it needed on some level. Things happen in a divine way. I really believe that. I don't believe in mistakes. So I'll say that I just want to find the positivity in a really difficult year.
Wow. Speak it, sister. That's amazing. Very, like, so amazing. Thank you. We have a moment of silence now to honor the words.
Yes,
I mean,
there's nothing I can add to that. There's nothing.
I mean, what's been so great about, recognizing the healing that the earth is actually having, and animals kind of coming out, and dolphins returning to Venice, and, pollution clearing, is that I actually learned how to garden, which is really cool. And one of the first things I did, because I'd always be on a plane, so any plant that I would get, I would kill like within a week, and I actually learned how to garden this year, and actually getting my hands in the earth and Gaia, and feeling like really like source energy and connecting to the earth in a very loving way that I really only experienced from my friends that are shamans or, Native American healers. And, I've only heard about them talk about, but actually like really being devoted to nature and to animals, and this kind of like grounded energy was really one of the first things that centered me up when everything felt like it was falling apart very quickly. I was just like, well, I have nothing to do and I have nowhere to go. Like, let me just like plant some stuff. And it was actually super healing, because I wanted to give back to the earth that felt so depleted and so kind of heartbroken in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Such a trusting earth,
Yeah.
And humans,
that's really Sorry, I think I was interrupting you there. I thought you were complete, but there was a delay or something. It's interesting. I feel like one of the biggest challenges, and you were even describing it, like there's this opportunity that we all have for our own reset, our own growth and changing the way that we think about things and do things and relate with each other, that has come about as really an opportunity from this experience. And not everyone's in the position to have that reflection. And then at the same time, like that's not a facilitated conversation in mass for a lot of people in a lot of places, right? Like if you turn on the news or the media or like YouTube, and the things that are trending are not, manifesting a high vibration through the lockdown or through the pandemic, right? It's like the things that people were looking for to engage in that take their mind off of things were like the Tiger King, instead of just different levels of conversation. I'd be very curious. Brian, you're nodding your head. What do you think?
Yeah, the first thing that comes up to me, my awareness, is the understanding of prana bandwidth and what that means for each individual. Where, and this is something I love to offer people, is every morning we wake up with X amount of energy. And that can be expanded through breath work, meditation, and other modalities. But, we kind of have only so much that we can do. And when we're connected to our soul's purpose, which is that effortless flow of miracles, right? It's that the universe is conspiring for you. It's that highest excitement. It's that every step of the way you're kind of taken care of. A lot of us have gotten away from that. So we've had this pattern break in society where we've got to sit with our existential stress, and we got to choose, how are we feeding our awareness? Where are we directing our awareness in our mind? Where are we placing it in the world? Are we placing it on Netflix and giving all of our beautiful, delicious life force energy towards something that is holding our consciousness and our awareness and not allowing us to truly feel?
Netflix is fine if you want to just. That's
fine.
By the way,
Operation Christmas drop.
Netflix is fine.
No, you guys. Okay, right. Continue, Brian.
In general, you're totally right. Totally right. And you know how much joy I got when I watched that. Kat, you know how much joy I got when we watched your movie?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Continue.
But anyways, I'm going to touch on even porn. Something that's completely locking our consciousness up. All of these things that we're doing to distract ourselves from feeling the internal sensations that are going on. So my main thing is, be very specific with where you're choosing to place your awareness and what you're deciding to create for yourself, because this is one of the most potent times for you to create a new life, for yourself and also for the planet. So, I think prana bandwidth is something everyone should understand. Figure out what are the things that are draining you, what are the things that are bringing you life, and make all the hard decisions in the morning, and then create some like beautiful time for rest throughout the day. Pick up gardening. I picked up the flute. Frank decided to move across country. Like, everyone's making these gigantic changes to live their greatest becoming.
I love that you compared the flute to Frankie moving as a gigantic transition.
I don't know. I was like, well, listen, I'm like learning my emotions through the flute. I mean, it's it's an intimate thing.
It's something.
It's that personal journey.
Jordan, also, transition is like such a theme this year. I think for everybody, whether it's positive, well, there's no positive, negative, good, bad. It's just whether it's feels good or doesn't feel good or whatever. That's why our Oracle deck, we decided to make the focus of it transition. And so it's to help people dealing with transition. And that's what the Oracle deck theme will be. And that's whether transition is like, Jordan, we have a mutual friend, you and I, Jen, who we met at Rhythmia. Jen's cat just died recently. That for her was transition. I moved across country. That's transition. Like, we're all going through our little transitions, whether it's a loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, the ending of a relationship, a new relationship, moving, like all of these are transitions in life. And so we want to help people navigate through that through the Oracle deck. And I just wanted to make sure to put that out there, because Bryant was talking about transition. And that's how important it was for us to make this Oracle deck to help people with their transitions.
Totally. And we're so much the things we decide to digest, it's like the thoughts that we think creating our behaviors, those behaviors create our actions, and those actions consistently, create our experience. So it's like, do you want to be free? I think all of us here at some level decided to, be very mindful with what we're bringing to the world and who we decide to become.
Yeah. And now that my mind has expanded a little bit more from listening to Bryant, because he makes such a great point. I just watched a movie called The Current War. It's like with like Tesla and Edison and it, kind of talking about their kind of race to, who was going to really be the one who is going to powerhouse all the electricity, right, of like New York, or, really across the earth. And, if you think of the light bulb stays on because there's no air within there. If there's air, well, I'm not an electrician, so, I'm an actor, so bear with me. But, the reason that it stays on is because there's no air that gets into it. So you have a certain amount of energy, but the second you start letting a bunch of air in, and, it will start to dim your light. And for me, especially, and I think Frankie can relate to this, and Brian too, we are extremely protective over our time and our relationships and our energy. We don't invest money or time or energy into anything that's going to dim our light. It has to elevate us and the world, because that's really what our main mission is to heal and help people in this life, however long we're alive, right? We can't do it if we're dealing with dysfunctional relationship, a problematic, family member, going on social media and just spending all this time looking at what other people have and what other people are doing. We don't, Frankie is in the news, so he can maybe reference this even more so, because he has to I don't even know how he does it, because he's constantly having to literally tell the news to the world. But I'm very, very careful about who I follow, how much news I watch, what kind of news I watch, where I get my information. A lot of the media is very fear-based. Everything is watch out for this and be scared of that. And, that energy people don't understand, but it actually does manifest into your body. Constantly feeding yourself fear and negativity and, allowing yourself to participate in scenarios that aren't for your best self, you're going to start to stress, and your immunity is going to go down, and you're not going to be able to be as, you don't want to be your best self, because you have to just just imagine you're a light bulb and you're like, is this going to dim me or keep me bright? Is this going to keep me on or is this going to shut me off? So that, just to speak on that, because I hadn't really put it together in that way. It is so important this year.
It's a really good analogy. And maybe it's like an ego death or transition is really, it's like, okay, well, this light bulb's burning out or it is out. We got to change it and get an LED or something in there that'll be brighter and more efficient, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah, you have to also say, you know what, I'm not shining as bright as I need to. What do I need to turn off around me, or what do I need to just turn off for a minute? Do I need to just take a step back? I think because we're all home so much and we can't really go anywhere, a lot of people feel like, oh, that's a great excuse to just overwhelm ourselves with content and overwhelm ourselves with whatever is on TV, whatever a movie is out, whatever's on our social media, screen, and let's just, over process things, because now we have nothing else to do, versus maybe reading a book or meditating, because that's boring. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's actually going to bring you closer to yourself. But a lot of people don't want to have to deal with themselves. They'd rather play video games and do things that distract themselves versus dealing with their things. And what happens is when they have to face themselves, or eventually when this whole pandemic is over, they won't be prepared in the way that they could have been had they dealt with themselves in the present time, with this incredible opportunity to get to know themselves and consciousness better.
Yes.
Yeah. Very well said too. And I mean, like, even, it's worth saying, like, there's value. I mean, you kind of jumped in earlier with it kind of as a joke, but that was funny. But it's like, there's value on YouTube and on Netflix and on Amazon Prime or whatever. Like the content can be really valuable. It can also be a drain. And it's like, what is it and why are you doing it, right? Like if it comes down to a sacred intention and it's in moderation, or if you're playing video games to have fun with your friends or something, like it's just when it becomes, right, it becomes like, oh, that's what's my schedule for the next week, and it's just like 12 hours a day of the binging. Now we have a problem.
I mean,
I do want to ask Frankie how he deals with the news kind of intake with his work at ABC, because that's not something we ever really personally talk about. But
yeah, it's interesting because I get like probably 1,000 emails a day that are just like internal news emails about everything going on in the world, whether I'm on that story or not, whether it's a colleague that's on that story. But we all send these emails out that everybody in the company gets with any new news that breaks, or any on the record statements, just like anything, it gets sent out to the whole company if you're on those certain chains, and I'm on a lot of them. So I get about 1,000 emails a day. And I think the key, and I learned it probably about I've been there for 10 years, about 6 years ago, was how to disconnect emotionally from things. And so I can read stories and not be emotionally attached to them. And kind of like, if I'm assigned one of these stories, like I've covered everything from, Dancing with the Stars to mass shootings. I mean, like literally everything, natural disasters to, the Oscars. Like I've done everything. And so when I'm on an assignment, I'm not necessarily emotionally attached to the story that I'm telling. It's more about just making sure that people have the information that I have. And I'm not necessarily, though, reacting. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of like always aware of the breath, to be honest with you, as Brian was saying. And it's funny because sometimes I'll see other people who are in the field and we're on the same story, and they're like frantic. And I just like wonder, I'm like, is that for them? Like they feel if they look frantic and they're panting and they're freaking out, that it looks like they're doing more work. Does it make them feel like they're being useful and effective? Maybe, because I'm just like, I could be in the middle of a natural disaster and I just look like the calmest, like you would think that I was just like taking a stroll down the street, and I get all the work done that needs to get done, if not the same, better. than the other like than anybody else covering the same story. You know, you don't need to be freaking out and like angry about the story that you're doing and so attached to it in order to like do the job properly. So that's kind of my perspective. And then also with like talking about like the kind of content you digest. I mean, you know, Kat was just telling us this incredible metaphor about the light bulb and your inner light. And it came from something she watched, a documentary she saw on a streaming network, right? About Tesla and about Edison. And then Jordan, you know, you and I have done so much work with plant medicines, different kinds. I would never have known about it if it wasn't for like watching Paul Stamets on YouTube or watching other people talk about their experience with psilocybin or ayahuasca or rape or anything. I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for the internet, you know? That's all.
No, that's so great. It's so helpful because for me, it's almost the opposite because I read scripts looking for the thing that I can emotionally attach to. I look for the thing
your emotion
towards. Yes, because I have to work in an opposite way because if I don't connect to something emotionally, then I don't do it.
It's so funny because probably one of my most useful things in life that has helped me is something called the emotion code, which Kat and Bryant know about. And Jordan, you would know about it. I actually got it for Jordan for his for Christmas, I think last year, and as a gift. And for viewers who don't know, I'm not gonna like bore you with the whole thing, but there's this thing called the emotion code. It's changed my life. It's just like a way of releasing trapped emotions in the body on a quantum field. And Kat, I remember we were talking about doing emotional work and she was like, Frank, I can't do any more emotional work because I need this for my acting. I'm going to have no emotions left to work with. You know, so as an actor, like she looks for that. She wants the script that makes her feel something, you know, and not to say that like I'm like a robot. Obviously, if I'm covering like, let's say a mass shooting, like I was saying, and I interview somebody who saw it or whose mom is in the hospital because of it, I mean, like my heart is just like so with them, but I'm not, when I say emotionally attached, I'm not like, I don't allow myself to be consumed or triggered by it. I just more give them so much love and I'm there for them in that moment. I mean, I remember somebody I interviewed in the Vegas shooting who literally didn't even have a shirt on because he had like taken it off and wrapped somebody's wound. And so like I went and got him a sweater while he was waiting for his turn. I like went and found a place that was selling sweaters and I got one for him. Like I'm emotionally caring and empathetic, but I'm not allowing myself to take that with me home. You know what I mean? It's like, you gotta like have some kind of level of disconnect.
That's a lot of discipline and pretty remarkable and something that it's pretty admirable to be able to do. Because I have to be very, very careful about how much news I even watch or what's even on my phone, you know. The default things that come up on the news of the iPhone, it's just like, you know, to be present. But I'm the kind of person, if I can't do something about it immediately, then I'm just giving myself fear. And, you know, it's like I want to do something immediately about it. I'm not one of those people that, Frankie and I have a friend who loves to, uses how do you say the negative things in the news as a way to, like a lot of people use negativity in the news, whether it's in politics or whatever, as a way to relate to each other so that so everyone can be kind of bitching about the same thing. And that's just not, just not what we do.
100%. Yeah. That
makes sense. Brian, it just for a moment there, it looked like you were about to say something too. Did you have something to jump in with?
Yeah. You know, I think what it comes down to, like fundamentally for me, with just understanding, you know, the co-creation aspect, right, with this holographic reality that you spoke of, or how our emotions, you know, bring things to life. You know, first, you know, Frank never brings any work home. You know, either does Kat, and that's why I'm like, I ask them questions sometimes. I'm like, you did what today, Frank? You know, and he like says the most like epic tales and adventures. Yeah. He never ever brings it up. Kat will have a #1 movie in the world, and I won't even know until the movie comes out. You know what I mean? So it's these like really interesting things that that I get to experience when people are so absolutely present, and they also have reached an unconscious competency with their craft, which I absolutely admire. that being said, I wanted to touch on this is, you know, where we're deciding. Frank, when I met him, he also gave me this idea of like the inner child and this inner child being your God. And I really took this with me throughout, you know, the couple months that I've been meditating on it. And it's a deeper understanding that this inner child or our inner God is our awareness. And we have this potential to direct this awareness in our mind and experience life through those eyes, or experience this internal state as an external stage. So, you know, I think it's just like giving the complete power to the people, knowing that, you know, when you do that meditation, you have that focus or concentration ability to then direct your experience and kind of swim downstream, they would say. So I also just wanted to add that.
Yeah, that's really cool. It just, you're making me think of, and this is like sort of the whole conversation, some of the things that Kim, Kat, and Frank, you guys were describing a few minutes ago, which was just that, you know, at the beginning, or I guess technically the tail end of last year, we started a series on Spirit Science called Hidden Spirituality, where we were like breaking down the hidden spiritual secrets in like movies and TV shows and games. And it like completely transformed my movie watching experience like forever. Because it's like when you start watching anything and you're like looking for symbolism, it's like you start analyzing things at a whole nother dimension, as opposed to just enjoying, you know, whatever the story is, and then it's over and then it's done forever. That's been paradigm changing. And so I really relate with you, Kat, when you were just describing, like, you know, you look for, when you get a script or whatever, you know, you look for something that you're connecting with emotionally. Sometimes there's a lot there that's like it just under the surface, but it's easy to spot once you know what you're looking for.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
It's me, like, you know, it's everything is a tool to wake you up, regardless of how unconscious it looks.
Yeah. And so, sometimes as like a slingshot, you know, it's like pulling back into this like terrible, awful part of reality, so that you see it and you're like, oh snap, and then there you go, you're off into a higher reality.
Science and Modern Nirvana.
Modern Nirvana. So yeah, we're coming close to the end here of our like hour and a half. I know you, some of you guys got to go. So with the spirit of kind of bringing this whole conversation to a beautiful conclusion, what would you say if each of you had like the one thing that you could share with the world, like the most important thing that you would share with the world right here and now? What would it be?
Frankie.
That's it. That's her answer. No, I'm kidding.
Tough question. It's always such a tough question, because there's, you know, our whole life is just like delving into different practices. But I would say the power of intention and perception is so powerful and underestimated and valued. You know, your intention, the reason why I'm even here with Kat and Brian and you right now is because of intention. And then also perception. You know, we talk a lot about perception, or at least I do, because, you know, we could all be looking at the same thing and seeing it completely in a different way. And, you know, we talked a little bit about the times that we're in right now. And a lot of people will say, this is the worst year of my life. And a lot of people will say, this is the best year of my life. And a lot of times you'll see somebody who maybe has gone through, like two people who have gone through a divorce, and one of them went and created their own business and became a major success and found a new partner. And then another person just remained a victim and said like, oh, you know, kept blaming and saying what happened to them, and tells everybody who will listen what happened to them and what that person did to them. And it's all perception, right? And Bryant said earlier about like, even the most unconscious things can be our greatest teachers. So it's like looking at these things, and I get it. I know you were hurt. Somebody hurt you. Somebody did this to you. It doesn't feel good. But now where are you going to go? What are you going to do? It's your perception of it. What can I take from this, and where am I going to go now? I think we give our power away so easily, but it's you always have it. And as long as you just remind yourself, I am aware of my power. I am aware of my power. I am aware of my power, right? In every moment, you can choose where you want to go and what you want to do, and how do you respond to a situation.
Bryant, you're up next.
Oh, I get to go. A couple of things come to mind. You know, I like to keep it really light. One of my favorite quotes this year was from Richard Rudd, and he goes to rest in the supreme state of being while participating in the world's evolution. You know, so there's like a form of unattachment. You're like it present in the soul, but then like you're participating each moment because you're expressing yourself, you're expanding, you're learning, you're growing. So I'd say that's first and foremost. Second is, you know, when you find partners like Kat and Frank, or you find friends that, you know, enrich your life, you can go so much farther together. It's just the truth. The amount of energy and intention in a group setting, in a community setting is what I see the future becoming. You know, us all working together and unifying through that diversity to create a better world to experience. So that's what I got for today. And also, master your breath if you get the chance.
I was waiting for that one.
Yeah, I was gonna leave that with a cliche, but yeah, I was like, really dive into the breath. It's important.
Thank you for the reminder, ever reminding us to do that. All right, Kat, I think you're up. We saved the best for last.
Yes.
I want to hear you ask the question one more time so it resonates in me, so that I'm not just like answering from an ego place.
Yeah, that's fabulous. The question is, if you had one thing, the most important thing that you could share with the world right now in this moment, what would it be?
I think it's the idea that there is no this moment. There are multiple moments happening, and where you put your focus is really what will matter. So if you put your focus, like Frankie said, on the negative, there you'll be. If you put your focus on your breath, there you'll be. If you put your focus on yourself, there you'll be. If you put your focus on the awareness of God, there you'll be. There is no one moment. There is the moment you choose. So choose wisely.
Aho.
Sure.
Bless you guys. Bless you guys. This was so special. And thank you so much for joining me here. For anybody who wants to listen or tune in to Modern Nirvana, where can they find you?
youtube.com/Modern Nirvana. Do you have any show notes? Maybe you can put it in the show notes for them.
We will absolutely put it in the comments below. We have the YouTube channel. You also have a website with some fabulous photos, I might add. And well, yeah, we'll make sure we link everything down below. And just thank you guys both again, all three of you again for joining me today on Spirit Science Live. It's been such an amazing, epic conversation. And I'm definitely leaving here with like a little bit of a buzz.
The vibrations.
Love you, Brian. And Kat and Jordan. Thank you. You see how I saved that?
Love you, Brian. And
Love
Kat
you,
and
Jordan.
Frank. Oh, man. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Love you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for having us, Jordan.
Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time. And thanks everyone for tuning in.